Good morning, 411 business. Today we are here revolutionizing holistic health with Dr. Ronald Drucker. Dr. Drucker, tell us about your way that you are revolutionizing health.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. When I was 18, I was a chemistry major in college. And I realized that basically most chemistry jobs, you're really just a glorified plumber. So I said, that doesn't sound interesting to me. So I figured, let me change to biology. Well, when you're in biology, to me, it made sense. Why don't we find the prevention and cures for diseases? But in order to do that, I have to do medical
Yes,
research. I figure,
absolutely.
okay, well, in order for me to do medical research, I have to work in a hospital laboratory and I have to learn all the basic principles and techniques of research, like hematology and microscopic work and chemistry and all the pathology and all these different things. And I figured, let me get all those skills and I'll be able to do research. So I wind up in this medical technology program. It was great. So the first 3 years, you just get your classes in college, but the last year, you work in a hospital. And it was fantastic because I worked in this great lab. It was a very nice little local hospital, and the people were very, very friendly there to me. And for example, when I started, I shortly after I started there, I asked the lab director, "Can I do research?" A week later, he hands me a cancer research project. I'm 19 doing cancer research. I mean, it was like, in a way, it was a dream come true. Now, let me tell you, hospital work is very difficult because there's lots of rules and regulations. There's lots of things that don't really make sense. You're seeing a lot of people suffering and dying. It's a tough environment. But if you want to prevent disease and you want to learn the basics about diagnosis and treatments and all this other stuff, it's a great place to learn disease. It's not a great place to learn about health. They know nothing about health. In fact, health is a foreign subject. You start talking about health, you get in trouble in a hospital. I swear to God, I got fired for talking about health. I used to say, well, why don't we give people better food? And what do you have these fluorescent lights for? And give them some fresh air and sunshine. Just basic things. Oh no, what are you talking about? Forget it. It's just like I was crazy, right? But anyway, the point is, I learned all this about disease. But what did I learn about health? Nothing. So, I mean, I can write books on disease. I teach courses on diagnosis. And don't get me wrong, diagnosis is important. Most doctors today, they don't even give you a proper diagnosis. It's called a differential diagnosis. Let's say you got pain down your leg. Well, why do you have pain down your leg? We can call it sciatica, right? But that doesn't really tell you much. It could be a blood clot. It could be a tumor. It could be a bone out of place in your spine. It could be a hip out of place. It could be a bulging disc. It could be poor circulation. I mean, on and on. So what I do is, if I see anyone, I do a differential diagnosis. I don't just do a symptom diagnosis. I come up with a Greek name. Sure, the names are important, but I find out, why do you have this problem, and what do we? And then you know what to do about it. And most of the time, it's not because you have a drug deficiency, right? It's because maybe you're toxic, maybe you have some structural problems. I mean, for example, let's say you wanted to go take a nice long walk or a hike one day.
Hmm.
You put on your sneakers, right? You get ready. Let's say a little pebble is in the bottom of your heel on one shoe. You start walking, you feel it. Well, you're lazy. You don't want to take it out. Let me tell you, in a half hour, you're going to be so miserable. But can you imagine if you leave that pebble in there the whole day? You'll be disabled. Okay? So a
Exactly.
little thing like that. So what I'm trying to say is that if you got to find the cause of the problem, okay, and most of the time, drugs and surgery and radiation are not the answer. Now, don't get me wrong. In a medical emergency, you have a heart attack, you you have a broken bone, you're bleeding, you have a terrible fever because you have appendicitis. Okay, we understand. Medicine is important. Emergency surgery saves people's lives, right? ERs are terribly important, but you have diabetes or arthritis or autoimmune disease like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's or whatever, because there's 100 of them. Do you think a drug is going to cure you? The medical people admit drugs don't cure autoimmune diseases. Yet I discovered a wonderful way to treat autoimmune, completely safe, totally natural. I discovered it 45 years ago. It's been known from the scientific world for over 50 years, but
So,
nobody talks about it.
Drucker, let me ask a really good question. So what do you think, or what do you know after all your evidence, right, makes your approach to to health holistic, and why is it effective?
Well, here's the thing. Person comes in, they have some chronic disease. I don't care what it is, but it's, it's a long-standing illness. It's not getting better. The medical people can't cure you. Why did it happen in the first place? Well, sometimes, most of the time, it's because people are toxic. They have poisons. Well, look, poisons destroy your enzymes. Poisons eventually can make you either give you other diseases or can kill you, or certainly will shorten your life expectancy. So we got to get rid of the toxins. Then the other thing is, what about nutrition? They ruined our food supply after World War II. I mean, it used to be organic farming. It used to always be organic farming. Everything was organic, right? Now, not only have they taken all the minerals and most of the good stuff called phytonutrients out of your food, because they don't replace them with natural fertilizer, etc. They're just using artificial fertilizer, which doesn't even have, it only has 3 minerals. It's ridiculous. We need about 70. Anyway, so now we have food that doesn't have hardly any nutrients. And on top of that, they're putting glyphosate and bug sprays and herbicides and pesticides and all this poison on there. They're green harvesting. So what little nutrients the plant can produce today, they rob that because they got to ship it across the country, et cetera. So there's almost no nutrition in your foods. Everybody's mineral deficient. Everybody's vitamin deficient. And there are many other things in plants that are not just minerals and vitamins. They're called phytonutrients. Who talks about that? Nobody. Yet there's thousands of them, and we need these things. So besides the toxicity, and we're lacking all these nutrients, then let's look at the immune system, for example. The immune system, that's what keeps you alive. If you didn't have a properly functioning immune system, you'd be dead in 3 days of a common cold or cancer or God knows what, because anything could get you. Because the immune system protects us against every virus, every bacteria, fungi, parasites, cancer, slow wound healing, you name it, toxins, foreign invaders, whatever it is. So why don't we strengthen our immune system? Well, I discovered these immune modulators about 45 years ago, and I was always able to help most of my patients, but I couldn't really cure them of things. I couldn't prevent necessarily everything, because I didn't know how to really reestablish a healthy immune system. But I figured it out. But it wasn't just me. There were many wonderful scientists and researchers. But about 45 years ago, they're called the stabilized immune modulators. They literally regenerate a healthy digestive tract and a healthy immune system. And you can't get them in your diet. Now, maybe 1,000 years ago you could. Even 100 years ago, you probably got some of them. But today, forget it. They're gone. Just like so many other things are gone from our food. So the point is that with some very simple techniques of detoxification, nutrition, getting the immune system healed up. Now that's on the physical level. But then again, there are people that call me and they say, I got this terrible autoimmune disease after, my spouse died, or I lost my job, or had some tragedy in my life, see? So yes, of course, emotions are important and your mental health is important. But here again, what are you going to do? Let's say you're depressed. You're going to go to a psychiatrist? Give me a break. They're going to give you dangerous drugs. You think that's the cause of your depression? No. Depression it is to a degree biochemical. But if we get you on a proper diet, we get your metabolism working real well, get your energy back, chances are your depression is going to go away. Now, there are also psychological causes. One more second, I apologize. Because, like, for example, let's say somebody has some terrible traumatic experience. Could be when they were very young, could be whenever. And it was never addressed, and there's a therapy for that. So the point is, when you take a holistic approach, it's not just biochemical, it's not just nutrition, it's not just toxins, it's not just the immune system, although that's probably the most important. It's the whole thing. You got to look at everything.
So when you were talking about food, right, and the different types of diseases, have you seen, as you've been treating patients, have you seen food help with everything? Because I am wondering. I mean, I keep hearing.
Well, that's a good question. People say, well, it's all your diet. No, it's not all your diet. In fact, I wrote an essay called "Diet is Not Enough." Is it important? Of course it's important. But let's look at it this way. Let's say you're an Eskimo. Okay. Now, what's your diet? It's a very weird diet, right? But you're eating a lot of blubber. You're eating fish and meat. Maybe you're lucky you get a little seaweed or some berries, maybe for a few weeks in the summer. It's a very unusual diet. You're probably melting snow to drink water. It's very unusual, right? How come those people can be healthy if you leave them alone? Because they're so adapted genetically to their environment. You see. Well,
Okay.
let's go to the other extreme. How about southern India? It's very warm. It's very hot. By the way, the Eskimo, they're all type O blood types, which means that's genetic, right? And then the ones in southern India, they're almost all type A's. Well, they're the opposite. See, the O is a real strong meat eater. They have a very strong, what they call parasympathetic nervous system, which gives them many different traits. Among those, the adaptability to cold and that difficult extreme environment. And then the type A's, they're adapted to a very warm tropical environment. And look at India. A lot of the people there, it's against their religion to eat meat. A lot of them are strict vegetarians. Rice and vegetables mostly, right? Maybe they have a little yogurt or something, right? But the point is, imagine if you switched the diets on those two people. You'd kill them both. I'll tell you what diseases they'll die of before they die. Okay?
So
How do you
just
like that?
their blood type, that is so important.
You see what I mean? So when you talk about diet, yeah, but what's good for me may not be so great for you or somebody else. So I see someone, I customize their diet based on their blood type, their heritage, their genetics to a degree, whatever it is. And I find out what works best for them. Now, interestingly, if you take the immune modulators, most of your allergies, for example, will go away in about 6 months because we heal the gut and we get rid of leaky gut syndrome. And that's one of the main causes of allergies. Not to mention autoimmune diseases like lupus and psoriasis and eczema and Hashimoto's and all these. There's 100 of them, right? Mm-hmm. So the point is that if you know the basics of how to prevent disease, you can also cure disease. Now, I don't cure anything. All I do is help your body, mostly the immune system, to heal you. I'm helping the best doctor in the world do his or her job. That's it. If you look at it that way, it's really very simple. There's an expression. Genius is the ability to simplify. Now, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but what I'm saying is I have taken and I've learned from geniuses throughout history, extraordinary people, scientists, doctors, researchers. I can't even tell you how many. I've read their books. I've gone to their seminars. I've spoken to patients that have seen them. And I've stolen all these wonderful healing technology and techniques from all these fabulous doctors and researchers and scientists going back well over 100 years. I'm just the thief. But I gathered all that information and I put it together. When I wrote my book, The Code of Life, I quoted one of the most fabulous doctors I could find, a brilliant researcher. The guy was fantastic. He's like almost 90 years old. Greatest guy. We became very friendly. I mailed him a copy of the book, right? You know what he says to me after he reads the book?
What
he says, when I read your book, I feel like I'm talking to myself.
That's very good.
You know why? Because I took so many of his wonderful quotes that was so fabulous, and I put them in my book. Now, you could call it plagiarism. He didn't feel that way about it. He was happy. He was happy that I quoted him, because I was getting the word out, see? But this is the thing. You don't learn any particular subject, particularly healthcare, in a couple of years. You don't learn it in 10 or 20 years. I've been in healthcare 55 years, since I was 19 years old, doing medical research and medical diagnostics. That's why I can speak this way. And thank God, I've been very lucky. I found over the years, the Bible says, seek and you shall find. Well, I've been seeking these prevention and cures for over 50 years. And I have found so many things. It's amazing. And I even wrote a book called The Code of Life, which talks a lot about it. I have a new book coming out called How to Heal the Immune System. Okay, it'll be out in a couple of weeks.
Which is super important, right? Because like you said, that's everything.
Well, if you have a strong, healthy immune system, you're pretty hard to kill.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So for people that are listening right now, and they have questions, I know we talk a lot about your ability to take calls and you want to interact with people. So tell people that are listening right now how to get in touch with you.
Oh, sure. Well, the best way is just to call or text me 954, excuse me, 547-0487. That's 954-547-0487. You can visit my websites for more information. Uh, holisticlives.org, holisticlives.org, or dynamicmedicine.solutions, dynamicmedicine.solutions, healtherootcause.com, healtherootcause.com. It has phenomenal information on it. You'll see video testimonials of people that got better from diseases they weren't supposed to, because supposedly they're incurable, which they're not. Okay. And all drug free. Now, don't get me wrong. If you need a drug until you get better, you can take the drug. I'm not going to tell you to stop taking a drug. You can use my approach as a crutch to get off your drugs if it works. And of course, it works most of the time. So, and by the way, I'm not really anti-drug. I'm not anti anything really if it works. But if it doesn't work, then I'm anti. Okay. So I'm pro what works. You know what the word eclecticism means? Eclecticism means take the best and forget the rest. Right?
That's good. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's eclectic. Take the best and forget the rest. That's what I've done for over 50 years in healthcare, as a researcher, as a hospital diagnostician, as a practitioner. All I want is to prevent and cure disease, but it's not me. I'm only helping the best doctor in the world to do it. Your immune system. That's it.
So, Dr. Drucker, talk about, out of all of your patients that you've treated, which one that really stands out the most to you?
Oh, one comes to mind. I remember this wonderful Latin family. They called me up one day. They saw something on my website. They had a 9-year-old son who had a very severe case of ulcerative colitis. Now, ulcerative colitis means that you have an irritated, inflamed colon, and you have usually not multiple bloody bowel movements a day. And it's very uncomfortable. You become anemic, you get weak, you don't know what to eat. It's terrible. And the medical people, they had him at one point, they had him on up to 11 different drugs. Now, maybe not all at the same time, but they kept trying this drug, trying that drug. He wasn't getting better. He was failing in school. He couldn't play sports. Parents were desperate. So they brought him in, and I did a workup on him. Basically, I didn't have to change his diet very much. All I really had to do was get him the stabilized immune modulators. It's called Digesticure, which, by the way, I don't sell, but which you can call them. It's 888-671-2873, 888-671-2873. I got him the immune modulators, gave him a little common sense health advice. I did give him some chiropractic treatments because, if your nervous system isn't working properly and you have interference, a good chiropractor can help that. See, what chiropractor is really applied neurology. Okay, it's not just cracking bones or whatever people think. It's relieving the pressure or the abnormal functioning of the nervous system. Now, obviously, if you have a brain tumor, you don't go to a chiropractor, right? But most people, they don't have brain tumors. They have headaches, they have stiff necks, they have pain down their arm or back or leg, and they have maybe some dysfunction. Hey, I've taken patients with chronic constipation, and with a few adjustments, because we took the pressure off the nerves going to their large intestine and colon and rectum, they have normal bowel function. So what was it? It wasn't their diet. It wasn't lack of exercise. It wasn't that they weren't drinking enough water, although we could have improved those things as well. But it was because they had pinched nerves going to their intestines. But nerves go everywhere. Nerves go everywhere. Is every single part of your body fed by a nerve? Of course. You couldn't feel it. But what about the heart? You don't think the nerves to the heart are important? They come from the base of your neck. How about the nerves to the digestive tract? They come from your middle back. How about the nerves that go to the sex organs and your bowels and your bladder? They come from your low back. You go to a doctor, they ever check these things? How do we know It's not a pinched nerve. They don't. They don't even check. They don't even check.
So say we
Anyway,
don't.
so what I'm trying to say is that you got to take a holistic approach. Is it structural? Is it vascular? Is it the immune system? Is it some combination thereof? Is it lifestyle? Is it toxins? Is it you're lacking in? Well, it's usually a combination of these things, because most people today are very toxic. They're malnourished. I mean, you drink tap water. You know how many toxins are in tap water? Not just lead from the pipes. What about chlorine? Chlorine is a terrible poison. Fluorine is 100 times or 1,000 times more toxic than chlorine. What are you putting fluorine in the water for? It's insane. It makes no sense. It's a toxic waste product. We should have no chlorine and fluorine. We shouldn't be ingesting fluorine. It's nuts.
Well, imagine that no one knows that. I mean, a lot of people think because it comes out of your sink at your home that it's safe.
No way. It's, look, unfortunately, governments and big corporations, their main concern is not really you or I. It's a shame. They should be, but it's not. They have their own agendas, power, control, greed, whatever it is. I'm not saying all those people are corrupt or evil, but a certain percentage of them are. And the crazy thing is, in this world, very powerful people that rise to the top, unfortunately, a lot of them are evil. Look throughout history. Okay, Genghis Khan, he built a pyramid of human skulls. Okay, this guy was not a humanitarian. He was evil as hell. What about Lenin? Lenin killed more people than Hitler. People don't even know that. How about Stalin? Same thing. Why do these people get to power? I don't know. But I have a theory, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. But the point is that you can't trust the media. You know what I call the media? I call them the merchants of fear. They're selling fear. You don't see wonderful, beautiful things on TV. You see all the death and destruction and crime and all this nonsense. We do have to stay abreast of what's going on. But what about the good side of things? What about being positive? What about being happy? I wrote an essay, Happiness and Purpose in Life. Don't you think happiness is important? Who talks about happiness? Well, how can you be happy if you're not healthy? It's very difficult. So I focus on health.
So for everyone that's listening, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, the best way is call me, 954-547-0487, 954-547-0487. Or text me. Those are the two best ways. It's very hard to check email. I get 1,000 emails a day. It's very hard, unless I know it's coming. You could say, I sent you an email from such and such, and I can search for it. But that's difficult. But you should read my book, Code of Life, my new book coming out called How to Heal the Immune System. You should go to my websites, healtherootcause.com, holisticlives.org, dynamicmedicine.solutions, drronpdrucker.com. I'm putting all this information out there. I mean, my book is even on Kindle, where you can listen to it or something. I'm trying to educate the public and doctors and researchers on how to heal the immune system, how to get healthy and stay healthy. And this is my main purpose in life. When I wrote my essay, Happiness and Purpose in Life, I realized that your sense of purpose, as long as it's positive, is very important to your happiness, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a strong sense of purpose in life, and it's a positive purpose towards good, and let's face it, how do you measure the worth of a human being? Is it by their bank account or what car they drive? Or what house they live in? No. It's how much good can they do for other people. Isn't that true? Isn't that really true? What's the value of a human being? How much good can you do for the rest of us? It's that simple. And if you do that, you'll be happy. How do you like that?
There you have it, 411 Business. Everyone that's listening, hit that like button and subscribe to 411 Business, and continue to check in during the week. In the morning, we have Dr. Drucker that comes and gives phenomenal insight. And if you need to contact him at all, you can reach him at his phone number. Again, Dr. Drucker, what's that phone number?
954 547-0487. Call me anytime. If I don't answer, my phone will capture your number. I'll call you back.
All right, there you have it, 411.